Hi guys, I'm back with another video, and today taking a look at something a little different. It's, I think anyways, my first kind of dip into indie toy companies, and it is the La Muerta figure from Loose Collector's Legacy series. Um, I was him and Han on this figure a little bit, but I saw reviews from a fair amount of YouTubers of whose opinions I value pretty highly when it comes to figures and their reviews. They usually have pretty good taste. And so I've seen a lot of good positive feedback about this figure, and a lot of people have said that Loose Collector stuff is pretty good. So I want to take a look for myself, and I finally decided to pick this one up because out of all the ones that have been released so far, this one looked the coolest. I am not very familiar with this character. When I ordered her, I did actually go and read a few of the comics. It's a cool character. To be very simple, a very similar character to the Punisher, honestly. There is differences, not the exact same carbon copy character, but a very similar origin and all that sort of stuff. But still a very cool, badass character. And figure's very cool. If you're not familiar with Loose Collector, I can't say I'm like a authority on it or know a ton, but I've seen some of the other figures offered. Definitely, they produce a lot of figures from what I would consider not so mainstream comics, because I never, like I said, never even heard of this character until I saw reviews of the figure. But maybe Coffin Comics is more known than I think it is. Definitely a lot of all female characters, and they're all like the insane, like sexualized, like stereotypical comic book female characters, which isn't a bad thing per se. And La Muerta is not exactly an exclusion to that. Although I will say, out of all the characters that Loose Collector has done so far, this figure is the most modest when it comes to design. She's like the only one that's actually fully clothed, which I think is kind of funny. But it's honestly a nice brush of fresh air from other figures, like from Hasbro Marvel Legends and stuff, or G.I. Joe Classified. Obviously, they're not going to go crazy with sexualization of their female characters, because those figures have to go on shelves of main retail stores. So being an indie company, Loose Collector, it kind of has the freedom to do more accurate body proportions, which I like, of course. Not many are going to complain about that, I don't think. But taking a closer look, this is a 6-inch scale figure, and I really like not just like, I really like the proportions, not to be, I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but just with the posability and the proportions of the sculpt and the body, when you have her even just standing at a neutral kind of standing pose, she just looks so natural, which I really like. Sometimes you get Legends or Classified or whatever, and sometimes in standing poses they just look really rigid and don't look very natural. But La Muerta looks really good just standing there, so I really like that. The big highlight of the figure is definitely the head sculpt and the face paint. The face paint is really cleanly done. All these intricate lines and makeup looks really, really good and really sharp. I don't really see any issues at all. And the eyes are really nicely painted as well. I really like that a lot. Looks really good. I also like the hair. When I saw some reviews, the hair looked redder than I thought it should be, but it's actually not that red. It's more like a really light reddish, like brown, way more brown than is red. It does look accurate to the source material, which is good. It has a little bit of a black wash in it, I think, to give it a bit of detail, which is nice. And I really like the sculpt. Just standing there, it looks like it's like dramatically flowing in the wind, and then in action poses, it looks like her hair is in motion like it should. I do think it would have been kind of cool if she came with an interchangeable head sculpt with a different expression, or maybe like hair that looks like it's more at rest or something. But it's overall, I think I would have displayed it with this head sculpt anyways. It looks really good. Then on the rest of the figure, you do have this like black bodysuit that has the, skeleton motif on it. And all of the paint, white paint for these skeletal bits, look all really nicely, cleanly applied. And then if you pull back, use the articulation a bit, it is painted underneath her chestage there. Obviously, like I said, they did not nerf her. They did not nerf her in terms of her body proportions. But like I said, it's a nice kind of breath of fresh air from what you usually get from like Hasbro and whatnot. I will say the paint gets just a little bit scuffy around the midsection. I like the paint. There's a couple different colors there to give some definition to the musculature. Um, but where black meets the flesh tone, it does get a bit like you get a bit of overlap. As you can see there, it's a bit overlapping the black over the sculpt there. That's not a big deal, but it is something that I guess is worth noting. It gets a little smudgy there as well. Then you got the legs look good. You got a little couple specks of black that probably shouldn't be there, but they're on the back, so it doesn't bother me that much. She got some more tactical looking boots there. You got straps, some knee pads. I like the silver paint with the black wash there. Looks real nice. All the buckles are painted. The silver steel-toed kind of boots look really good. She also has elbow pads as well, if you didn't already see that. Again, the straps are painted real nice. She's wearing some gloves. And yeah, it's just a really good looking figure. Obviously, it's pretty basic. There's not a whole lot to it, but simple's not a bad thing when it's executed well. So I really like how this figure looks quite a bit. It's definitely one of the draws of the figure for me to get it for sure. I thought it was one of the coolest ones that they've done, Loose Collector's done so far. In terms of articulation, it's really well articulated. Everything, all the joints are tight and smooth, but not so tight where you feel like you're gonna break them or anything like that. But there's also nothing crazy, like no crazy engineering going on either. It's all pretty basic stuff you would see on like Marvel Legends. But you do have a dumbbell joint at the neck. She can look up a bit. The hair does restrict your movement. Looks down quite a bit though. And you do get quite a bit of pivot too. There is hinges at the shoulders. Out of all the joints, these ones are the ones that are maybe the most awkward to move, but they move fine. They rotate. They go about 90. They don't go much further than that. There is no butterfly joint, which is a little disappointing, I guess, but I can still get all the rifle and shooting poses I can get without the butterflies, so it doesn't really bother me that much. Swivel cut at the thigh, at the bicep works as you'd expect. Double hinge at the elbow moves in really far, really nicely. Doesn't look too awkward, which is good as well. And then swivel at the wrist, and then in and out hinge or up and down, depending on what hands you have on her. There's a ball dumbbell joint at the torso. It doesn't, well, you can get it arching back a decent amount there. It's not too bad. Move the arms out of the way. And then it crunches forward an okay amount. But if you go too far, it will pop off decently easy, and there's a reason for that, which I'll show in a second. But it clicks back on, not too bad. It only pops off if you go further than it's supposed to go. There's no waist swivel or anything, which honestly I'm a fan of. This articulation here is fine. I don't think that would have looked good if there's a waist swivel. Then you have a hip joint, goes forward that far, doesn't really go back at all. You can get almost a full splits. There is actually no thigh swivel, which I like because that would break up the sculpt and the paint. I wouldn't like that, but there is a swivel right where these straps start, so it's nicely hidden, doesn't break up the sculpt too much, works pretty good. Double hinges at the knees that go as far as I need them to. There's another swivel at the boot, and then there's hinges at the ankles that go up a decent amount, they go down, and then they rock for pivot. I will say moving the hip joints a bit when they're back down kind of like straight, they get like a little loose, but then when I have them out, there's like more friction again. I don't know if like the joints might wear themselves out a bit over time of posing or not. That's something to look out for maybe, but I mean, so far they're not like loosey-goosey or anything like that. But now in terms of accessories, comes with a decent amount of stuff. Obviously, you see the relaxed hands on her right now. You also get a pair of trigger hands for shooting guns and stuff. You get a pair of fists for punching people in the face. And you get a pair of gripping hands for her knife. You also get a belt, little tactical belt. It's nicely sculpted. A little bit of paint for the buckles, some pouches, ammo clip there, and then some weapon storage. And this doesn't come apart. How do you put it on this is where the popping off the torso actually comes into play. You pop off the torso, slip the belt on, and then there you go. And I like that a lot. I never really like when belts are removable with a peg. They're usually a pain in the ass to peg back in, and then half the time they're unpegging and coming off. This way, this is never coming off unless you have the torso off. So I really like that. I think that was done really well. It is obviously like it does flop around, so after posing, you might need to adjust it, but that doesn't really bother me that much. It does have some storage for some of the accessories. You do get this big old combat knife or Bowie knife, whatever this is supposed to be. Black blade, black handle with the gold or bronze looking guard. I think looks pretty nice. And we can take the gripping hand. The hands are nice and easy to swap, no issues there. And you get the gripping hand, and they are meant specifically for the knife, and it holds the knife really well. That looks pretty good. So yeah, like that a lot. And then you can store that on the belt. There's a little loop there. It's a little tight. It's almost a little too tight, if I'm being honest. Although if you take it out in and out a few times, it seems to get a little easier. And we'll take this off and put the relax hand back on, and then I'm gonna take this hand off and put the trigger hand on so we can take a look at some of the guns. It does come with two handguns. They're both exactly the same, and all of the guns are just cast in a black plastic, and there's no additional paint, which I'm okay with. They don't really need a ton of paint, honestly. But she can hold these perfectly fine. Put the finger through the trigger guard, and the pistols look good. And she does come with the two pair of trigger hands, so she can dual wield no problem. But you do have some holsters on the back of the belt, and you can just slot those guns in the back there. And they stay in nice and securely. They're not going to fall out or anything like that. And she also comes with two assault rifles. I do not know. They look like some type of Scar. I don't know exactly. I'm not a gun aficionado, but they look sculpted pretty nicely. Again, no paint though. But you get two, so I mean, if you want, you can just have her holding one assault rifle, and she actually can do pretty good aiming poses. I thought maybe the hair and her chest size, honestly, would maybe restrict some articulation when it came to aiming the guns, but no, she can aim the guns perfectly fine, and even like fully pretty much aim down the sights. So I really like that a lot. That looks really nice. But again, if you want, you could have her, so I'll show that real quick. You can have her dual wield the assault rifles, which I think is super badass. That's super cool. Just going on a, oh, come on. Going on a murder spree of bad guys with the two assault rifles. Looks pretty good, looks pretty good. I like that a lot. Might display her like that. Haven't decided yet, but it looks very cool anyways. And then she does come with one more gun. I gotta get the relax hand back on again. She does come with a longer rifle, a sniper rifle kind of weapon. Looks like some sort of sniper variant of M4 or something. Again, I'm not sure, but sculpted nicely. And holds the gun well. I do like that all of the guns have pretty much the same handle size, so you're not going to like stretch out the hand and not be able to hold any of the guns. This one's a little tougher to get her posed in a way where she's looking through the scope, but it is doable. I'm not going to fiddle with it too much right now, but still, you can get her holding it with two hands, no problem. Looks pretty good. But yeah, that's all you get. You do technically get this little display base, clear display base with the figure, but it's so small, it's basically useless. So I'm not even going to bother showing that. I left it in the box. But yeah, that is La Muerta. That's pretty much everything to say about it, aside from doing some comparisons, I suppose. So let's do those real quick. I guess first off, with some other female figures, here's a Legends Black Widow. She actually is a bit bigger, just in every way, like not just height, but just like in mass, just a little bit bigger. But they're not too bad. And then here is a recent female Joe figure, G.I. Joe figure I've gotten. This is Jinx. Again, the Muerta's a little bigger, actually. Actually, and if you think these as actual humans, she's actually a fair amount bigger. But I think they still scale okay. I don't mind Jinx being a smaller character to this one. But I guess that's up to you if that makes sense or not. Here she is with a kind of average-sized male Marvel Legend. This is on the Bucky Cat mold. We got a little Union Jack here. It's just the first, simplest Bucky Cat mold figure I saw on the shelf to grab for this. I think they scale decently well. I think that works. And then lastly, for fun, here she is with my favorite Marvel Legends Punisher figure. And he is a bit bigger than her, which I think makes sense. Frank Castle's supposed to be a big guy, so I do like that he's still bigger than her, even though she is bigger than some of the other figures we just showed off. But overall, it is a really cool figure. I don't know if I'll get any more stuff from Loose Collector or not, because I'm not really familiar with a lot of those IPs they make figures for. But this one I'm now a little familiar, at least because I've read some of the comics, and it's just, even if you have no, you know, idea of the character at all you need to know is what honestly is on the back of the package, that she's pretty much a Punisher-esque sort of character. And it's just a really badass looking figure. Great accessories, great articulation. This figure is probably some of the most fun I've had posing a figure in a while out of the stuff I've gotten lately. She's just been a blast to pose and take pictures of. If you want to see some pictures and some posing of this figure, take a look at my Instagram, which will be linked in the description. You'll see a little reel of poses I did for her. But yeah, she's really cool. Now, the only, I think, the only significant issue to mention is the price point. Now, because this is from an indie toy company, you have to expect prices to be a bit higher because it's not like a big mega corporation like Hasbro. They've got to invest more money into making these figures. That being said, in Canada anyways, I spent $100 on this, which I think is around its normal retail price. So what is that in USD? Maybe around 75 bucks, I'm not sure. 70 maybe. I don't know, at $100 Canadian, it is a bit of a tough ask. I'm not gonna lie. I don't regret buying the figure at all. So I say if you're really interested in it, it's worth picking up. But I definitely can understand if the price point is a bit of a detractor. I think if this was even just $20 cheaper, $80 Canadian, I think I could stomach that price a whole lot better than the 100. Again, I don't regret the purchase, and if you can stomach the price, I highly recommend this figure if you're interested. It's super, super cool. But if you can't, I don't blame you. But that's pretty much all I got to say. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you are more familiar with this character than I am, let me know if this figure does the character justice. From what I've read and seen, I think it really very much does. And yeah, if it's a character you want a figure of, I definitely recommend tracking it down if you want to pay the price, because doubt this character's ever getting another figure anytime soon. Anyways, once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.